All right, this is take three. Oh, this. Hopefully it works out. I've had trouble finding the right words in the past couple of takes, but today is the 28th of December 2024. The time is 14:54, so 2:54 p.m. Today I'm going to be talking about the fact or the idea that it's about what you walk away with, not about what you walk away from or walk away from what could have been. And I want to apply this in a few contexts. One sort of like relationships, but the other in terms of work, and personal development. So starting with personal relationship, or rather, why I'm talking about this. So I've been sort of inspired by two things. The first reason I had this idea was actually from a Little Wayne song, and he has a line where he goes, "It's not about what you walk away from; it's about what you walk away with." And in the context of the song, he's talking about money or a record deal or whatever. But I'm like, you can actually apply this to your own life. And the other thing that actually inspired me was I went out with a friend yesterday. We had a long talk. It was nice. We talked about friends and relationships and whatnot. But what I wanna talk about first is what I see a lot on social media these days, or what I see with a lot of people is people demonizing their exes, which I think is a crazy concept, right? It's one thing if you had an ex or a partner who was, you know, abusive or an evil person, like they didn't treat you right, so on and so forth. Then I guess in some cases, sure, you're valid in saying that they were a bad person in the context of an abusive relationship, right? If they were just a bad boyfriend or a bad girlfriend, I don't I don't think there's really a reason there to demonize your ex. But what I see is a lot of people just demonize their ex just because they broke up after being together for a long time. Even if the breakup was more, hey, we're different people now than we were when we got together. I don't think this is gonna work. I think it's best if we split ways. I think that is, a fairly amicable approach to breaking up and, leaving a relationship. But I feel people demonize even that, even when things actually happen quite smoothly. And the reason I think it's weird is how I see it is if you've been in a relationship with someone for like a few years, right? 2, 3, 4+ years, and then you break up with them. If you go around talking crap about them to your friends or on social media or whatever, I feel like that's extremely, extremely disingenuous. Because are you telling me that in those 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, you didn't love them, you didn't have a good time, you didn't enjoy their company, the things that you did, the dates you went on, the things you did, the things you saw? Are you telling me that all of that meant nothing? And now you've resorted to demonizing them just because they're no longer in your life? It's one thing if you want to demonize them to yourself to help you get over it. It's another thing to demonize them to people who could be friends or family, or also know that person, because it unfairly changes your perspective of their perspective of that person based on what you're telling them. And I think that's just extremely disingenuous. And I think this can actually extend to things like friendships as well. It's okay. Wait, I'll stay on the relationship bit for now, but linking it back right to it's about what you walk away with, not about what you walk away from. A lot of people end up stuck in relationships because they're like, oh yeah, they could be a good partner in the future, or they'd be a great, a husband or a wife, or a great mother or father, whatever. But if you break up with them and that's no longer, a possibility for you, you need to look at what you actually walked away with, because that future is not a possibility anymore. So you should be thinking about, what did I learn from them? Did I develop any new hobbies? Did I develop an interest in something that they had an interest in, and now I can continue that interest even though we're no longer together? Did I pick up a new hobby? Did I do things with them that I wouldn't have done by myself? Whether it's going to the park or going to, a museum or a concert. there's bound to be things that you can take away from your relationship that you can be like, I really enjoyed my time with that person. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. So now, we move on. Happy days, like I wish them the best. And I'm just going to carry on with my life, and if something happens in the future, then sure, something happens. But I'm not leaning on it. I think that's how it should be. But I see a lot of people demonizing their exes or their partners just because they broke up. And I think that's just like crazy whack. Um, the other thing is you can apply it to sort of personal friendships and relationships as well. If if you go through a friend breakup, it happens. People go through it all the time, and sometimes it's friends that you've known for a long time. You might know a friend for 8, 9 years, and then eventually you come to a point where you're like, hey, we're sort of different people, and you're trying to force something to work, but it doesn't. There's no harm in actually breaking off that friendship if it doesn't work for either of you guys, right? Because why would you force yourself to be in a situation or a position that neither of you want to be in? And when that happens, I think there's again always appreciation that you can take from it. Like I had a friend. We would see each other regularly. One time we went out and they told me about their university dissertation thesis, whatever you want to call it. And part of it was talking about like the historical production of steel and how where steel actually developed. And I think it was something like Damascus steel isn't actually from Damascus. Damascus steel is actually Indian, and how in India they had these specially built forges like on the mountains where there's a lot of airflow, to help blah 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 blah. And even though we no longer like friends, we don't talk anymore. It's just like the way things go. There wasn't something like, oh, I hate you, or there wasn't anything like a catalyst that caused us to stop being friends. It just naturally happened. But I'll still always remember them for sharing that random piece of information with me. Random for me, obviously, that was part of their studies. And I can keep that with me everywhere I go. Whenever the idea of Damascus steel comes up, it's always a nice information tidbit to be like, hey, Damascus steel is actually from Damascus, it's from India, and this is how they actually manufactured the metal. So at the end of the day, it's about what you walk away with. Because I'm not going to sit here and think, oh, we could have been such good friends if, I had done X differently or if they had done Y differently. It's like we're no longer friends, cool. But there's always things that you can actually take away from that friendship, from that relationship, which I think is really nice. And I think it ties into the idea that you are everybody that you meet, you know, and you give a piece of yourself to everybody that you meet. I'm sure there's people that remember you for something that you may have said or said or done that you don't even know, and vice versa, right? I don't think that friend knows that their explanation on Damascus steel actually sticks with me, even 4 or 5 years later. And I think that's really cool, and it's just an appreciation of who they were. I don't have any bad will towards them because they did nothing wrong. It's just, yeah, they taught me something that was cool, and I sort of just carried that with me. So I think it can apply to both relationships, both like romantic and like platonic, however you want to divide it up. But in terms of also professional environments, I think it applies very well. So this a lot of workplaces now are do a lot of training on like the growth mindset, on always being flexible, learning new skills, so on and so forth. And I think that the idea that it's about what you walk away with is super, super important. In a lot of my work that I do, consulting work, it's a lot of client facing work. Sometimes you make mistakes, sometimes you learn stuff, sometimes you get dropped from a project before it fully completes for various reasons. And sometimes it sucks because it's a good project. But at the end of the day, it's about what you walk away with. It's about the new skills that you learn. It's about the people that you actually got to interact with, the people that you worked with. There's people I've worked with, and I don't know if I'll ever get to work with them again, but I had a good time working with them. I built a relationship with them. I've learned skills from them that I can actually take with me to my next project. So even though the project may have been cut short or they they were dropped off the project early or I was dropped off the project early, you can always still appreciate that time that you had with them and the things that you actually learnt from them. And the same goes for things like promotion cycles. Sometimes you go a full promotion cycle and you don't actually get the promotion, which happens. You know, you're not always going to be 100% qualified for the promotion. You're still going to shoot for it if you can. But what that comes with, it's not about what you walk away from. It's not the fact that, hey, I didn't get promoted, or I could have got promoted and I would have been making, you know, X% more, or I would be doing X% more cool things or whatever. It's about, sure, I didn't get it, but what you can walk away with is the feedback from the hiring manager, from the supervisor, who was probably part of those discussions to understand, hey, what can I do better next time to make the chances of me, you know, getting it in the following promotion cycle more likely. And I think it does take a big mindset shift to actually have that idea, you know, that it's about what you walk away with. You know, at the end of the day, it's not about what could have been or what you could have done differently or what you should have done. It's about what you actually left with in the end. And I think, you know, I'm involved in, or I spend a lot of time in the crypto space on, you know, Twitter or Reddit, and what you see is a lot of people talking about the past when they had, you know, their portfolio was worth X amount of dollars or X amount of pounds, and they didn't sell, and now it's worth, you know, a fraction of that. That's great, because at the end of the day, even in financial markets, whether it comes to selling investments or making investments, it's about what you walk away with. It's not about what the account, what your, you know, portfolio balance says it is. It's about how much you actually walk away with in your bank account, right? Because if you just leave your money there in your portfolio, there's a chance that things are just going to change and you're going to lose all your money, or, you know, lose a fraction of your money. But if you cash it out, you've actually walked away with the money. You know, hey, I've actually secured this. And that's why, you know, you always see people like, oh, make sure you secure your profits, X, Y, and Z. Um, you know, because you don't want to be caught on the wrong side where things go bad and you know, you may lose part of your portfolio. Um, Obviously, this is not not financial advice. But you know, there's the idea that it's, you know, it's about what you walk away with, not about what you walk away from, can be applied to many contexts. Like I've seen people say, oh, you look, yeah, I did cash out X amount, but if I had held a coin for another 5 days, I could have cashed out, you know, 10% more, 20% more. But then the question is, you don't know when that may have happened. You know, they don't know if the day that they sold, the next day the market would actually crash, or if they didn't sell that, the market would keep going up. So it's more about being grateful for what you actually walk away with, because you don't know what the next day could actually hold, or what, you know, the next stage actually is. And I think that's really it. How long is that? 13 and a half minutes. Um, yeah, this one was a little bit all over the place, but I guess to wrap it up, you know, it's about what you walk away with, both in personal relationships, you know, appreciation of the person, the things they taught you, the new hobbies or the new interests you may have taken from them, the time you spent together, you know, the laughs that you shared. And then in the professional setting, it's, you know, again, appreciating the people and the things that you learn and the skills that you learn. And even though things do get cut short, you still had that opportunity in the first place to actually, you know, be exposed to that. And when it comes to promotions, it's, even if you don't get promoted, yes, it sucks to miss out on additional pay and additional benefits and so on, but you get that instant feedback of what can you do to improve next time, and then you can actually start working towards it immediately. So when you do come around, you're more of a qualified candidate, because you don't want to get promoted if you're not fully qualified, because then you're just out of your depths when you actually hit the ground, which is a bad situation to be in, because you don't want to be trying to play catch up when there's more expectations of you. You all want to, you should ideally be operating somewhat at the level that you're aiming for before you actually get there. So when you do get there, you can hit the ground running and you can immediately start focusing on the next step if that's what you want to do. I guess that about sums it up. I don't know what the title of this video is going to be. It might be something like "Don't demonize your ex" or something like that. But who knows? I'll have a think about it before I upload it. But yeah, it'll probably come out later today. But yeah, appreciate you guys. Catch you later.